last camp. It was a cold October night when 5 friends decided to venture into a forest far from the city. Miguel, Helena, Daniel, Sophia, and Artur planned to spend the weekend camping, away from civilization, ready to test their courage in an area surrounded by ancient legends. The chosen location was near a lake, surrounded by dense trees and an unsettling silence. The only visible structure was an old, abandoned cabin with broken windows and a roof falling apart. But the group decided to ignore any strange feelings and began setting up the tents. When night fell, they sat around the campfire telling scary stories. "They say there's a spirit that haunts this forest," said Daniel with a sinister smile. "It's the spirit of someone who disappeared decades ago and was never found. They say that at night it whispers in the ears of visitors, trying to lure them to the cabin." Helena laughed, but felt a chill run down her spine. If it were true, we would have heard something by now. However, minutes later, a snap echoed through the woods. They looked at each other, their faces illuminated by the firelight. Miguel grabbed a lantern and pointed it in the direction of the sound, but saw nothing except the dense darkness between the trees. "It must have been an animal," said Sophia, trying to calm the group. But the tranquility didn't last long. During the night, Helena woke up with a strange feeling. The wind seemed to have stopped, and the forest was unusually quiet. Then she heard a low dragging sound, like footsteps on the dry leaves. She looked around and realized that Miguel was also awake, his eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Before she could answer, a shadow moved between the trees. It was tall and thin, with elongated limbs and irregular movements. They froze, trying to understand what they were seeing. The shadow moved toward the cabin and then suddenly disappeared into the darkness. The next morning, they told the others what they had seen. Daniel, always the skeptic of the group, laughed. "You were dreaming. I bet it was just a play of shadows." But Helena wasn't convinced. "If it was just a shadow, why did I feel like I was being watched all night?" Despite the tension, they decided to explore the cabin before leaving. The door creaked as it opened, revealing an interior covered in dust and mold. On the wall, deep scratch marks indicated that something or someone had desperately tried to escape. On the floor, an old mattress and a rusty rocking chair completed the disturbing scene. Sophia approached the chair and, unintentionally, bumped into it. The piece of furniture started rocking by itself. "This is not normal," murmured Artur, stepping back. Then Helena found something even worse. A leather notebook hidden under the rubble. When she opened it, she saw that the pages were filled with repeated phrases written in trembling handwriting. "He is watching me. He whispers my name. He is here." A crash echoed through the forest as if something had fallen from the trees. The group turned at the same time and saw the tall silhouette standing at the cabin's entrance. Its eyes were 2 empty points and its mouth twisted into an impossible smile. Slowly, it took a step forward. "Run!" shouted Miguel. The group ran desperately, crossing the forest without looking back. They could hear heavy footsteps following them, branches breaking, and the heavy breath of something inhuman right behind them. When they finally reached the car, they jumped in and started it hastily. As they drove away, Sophia looked in the rearview mirror. The figure was standing in the middle of the road, watching them disappear into the then. With one last chill, they heard a whisper on the car's radio. "This is not over." Whatever was in the forest knew where to find them.